Hi, everyone. I am here with Yaritza Ruiz from Absolutely Clear Title. Welcome, Yaritza. So happy to see you.
Hi, Claudia. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, very excited. I had mentioned to you when I reached out to you that I used to do these interviews back during COVID, and it was a time when we really weren't able to have a lot of interaction with our clients in such a different world. It seems like such a long time ago, but it wasn't that long
Sure
ago.
it does.
And so much has happened, but I wanted to pick them up again. And to talk with people like you that are so critical in the home buying process and selling process, the whole real estate transaction. So, can you just talk a little bit about your background and what inspired you to start your company?
So, I actually started as a real estate paralegal. Right
Mhm.
out of college, worked for small boutique law firms in the Bronx. So it would be like one attorney or two attorneys. And I was a real estate paralegal, learned all of the A's to Z's. And it
Mhm.
really was my experience as a paralegal and then transitioning into a title company for after about 10 years as a paralegal. So my experience as a real estate paralegal working for attorneys and then transitioning into being a title production person for a title company really led me to want to get into the title field because of realtors, which is so crazy, but it's the truth. A lot of the time, I started realizing that realtors did a lot of work, but once they handed off their transaction or their baby, their clients over to the attorneys, they kind of received like really crappy customer service, which then
Yeah.
trickled down to their client
Yeah.
receiving not great customer service. So that's really what made me want to get into it. I noticed that people did not understand this particular portion of the transaction
For
throughout
sure.
as a
Yeah.
paralegal and then even in the title world, because I noticed that we were like silent. Like we would never take calls from a realtor. We would never take calls from the
Mhm.
buyer. The title companies that I was associated with only wanted to discuss and have a relationship with the attorneys. And I thought that that was just the wrong way
I
of
love
navigating the
Yeah,
service.
I know, and I love the
So
name. It's
I've
just so
witnessed that and
refreshing.
felt
It's
that
like the whole
absolutely in
process
other
can be so
transactions
daunting,
for
and we
sure.
so that's what
always
really
talk
inspired
about
me to
it
start
being a team
Absolutely Clear.
sport, and it's so important to have key team players because we can't get to the closing table without all these different critical pieces working
Yes.
together. So, what exactly do you do for buyers, and why is it so important? It's a big part of your closing costs,
Yeah.
right? So, can you speak a little bit about, at what point you come in and what your role is and how important it is for a buyer?
Okay, so one of my missions with buyers is to really bring clarity to this portion of the home buying process. What I would love is for buyers to be able to shop around and choose who their title person is well early on into the transaction. They should
Mhm.
be shopping around because, like you said, we are a huge portion of your closing costs. So it is itemized searches that get put into your closing costs with your bank, and knowing who your title agent is or the company that's servicing is important because not only do we make sure that the transaction is done properly, that the buyer is ultimately getting a clear title and they don't have to worry about their future from past events that may not have been found, but they also should know what they're paying for and who's paying for it. Your title company has a very big responsibility to say, okay, we're ready. Just like the bank says, we're ready to give you this money. We have to say, we're ready to transfer the title from one person to the other with the minimal risks of claims.
Right. Yeah. Okay. For sure. So, what does it mean to run a title and municipal search? Because those are the two pieces that you have to check into to make sure everything's good to be able to say, yes, I can
Yeah,
transfer
so
title.
a part of our responsibility is to search title means to search the ownership of a property. We want to search the
Mhm.
ownership. We want to search and anyone who's ever owned. We want to search their judgments, liens. We want to search their names. Have they ever filed
Mhm.
bankruptcy? Are they a part of the terrorist list? Are they involved in any judicial matters right now that may be pending that can be a risk to the property? So that's
Mhm.
really title. We want to make sure that there aren't anything that can risk your usage or ownership. And then the municipal searches is something different, where that is done by the municipality or the buildings department. Every property has a record in the buildings department. And the building department, what they like to do is make sure that the occupancy of the property is done correctly, that there aren't any violations, meaning it is in the best interest of the municipality or the buildings department to know, is your plumbing done correctly? Is your electricity done properly? If you put up a fence, was that done legally? If you want to install a pool, was that done legally? And while you might own your property, your department of building or slash municipality has a lot of say about the safety of that property. And that's what your municipal searches show. They take forever, but you can be proactive with obtaining those. Like even sellers can obtain those early on.
Yeah, that's been that, we definitely has been something that we've been talking to sellers about, just to make the process a lot smoother, and to really kind of get a handle on things that could take time on the back end to get, to cure them ahead of time, for sure.
I don't really know why it's not done that way, to be honest. I wish it was, because municipal searches for the title company, first, we don't need them in order to insure and close. We provide them for informational purposes, and we do assist in if there are things that can become a problem later. However, they're good for 6 months. So if your seller knows that they're going to be in contract soon or listing their property, it can be in their best interest for timing just to get those searches done, and then just hold on to them, and you can provide them to your buyer's title company once you're fully in contract.
Right. We had a deal that we just worked on where my buyer ended up purchasing a property that there had been a previous buyer that wasn't able to to move forward with the transaction. So then the property became available again, and my buyer purchased it, and they had done the title and municipal search, and they were able to. It wasn't that long, before we came into the picture. And you were able to say, yeah, we'll get a copy of that and we can work with that. So it saved her some money, and it saved a lot of time. It saved a lot of time. Yeah. Is there, now I know you offered, consultations to, speak with people to kind of give them, because I think the big thing is, especially with buyers, is, you have to figure out what your monthly payment is going to be that you're comfortable with. You have to figure out how much money you're going to have to bring to closing, depending on what you've put down at contract, what your whole nut is that you're going to have to, make sure that you can be whole. Closing costs being a big part of it. Is there a way to estimate costs? Do you provide some, like an estimate saying more or less this is what you can expect,
Yes. And I actually would advise any buyer to shop around and get an estimate. If their attorney already has a relationship with a title company, then ask that title company to provide a quote or an estimate. So the items that the buyer will need in order to obtain this quote would be the property address, the amount that they're going to be offering to purchase it. So what their purchase price is or their offer amount, and then what they believe their loan amount will be. So if they're going to purchase a property and they say, okay, I'm going to put down this much, I may be taking a mortgage for this much, you can provide the property address, potential purchase price, and loan amount to your title company, and they should be able to give you an itemized bill. And the only thing that will negate or change that would be if we are at closing and then there's property taxes due. But for the most part, the quote should be almost as accurate as possible. And those figures should be the same when you get to closing.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. And would you say that one of the biggest things that kind of separates you from other title agencies is your customer service, just like being reachable, being on top of every step of the process and behind the scenes? Like, I feel like that's huge, right? I think that's huge.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, so we do what's called clarity sessions. And I am hoping that is something that sets absolutely Clear Title apart, because you can go onto our website and you can request, which is acleartitle.com, and you can request a clarity session, and we can sit via phone or Zoom, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I'll answer any questions just to bring a little clarity as to the A's to Z's of the transaction, right? Like, what do you expect? Who are all your key players in order to get you to that closing table? And what's the purpose of all of these little things? So I think that like my history as a paralegal just allows me to give this customer service so that people can just be, I guess, less anxious about the
Yeah.
process. Because
Yeah.
even if you know about it, you still have this high anxiety, lack of communication. So
Yes.
that's
No,
what I
for
hope to do
sure.
with those clarity sessions.
Yeah, I love that title too. Clarity session. So cool. I'm gonna have a clarity session at 12 today with Yaritza, and I'm gonna feel so much more informed. So I'm sure that's how people feel after they speak to you. Um, what is some advice that you have for home buyers and sellers and realtors just to kind of, help them avoid pitfalls or just in the whole title process?
What I would really advise is ask questions and communicate. So, one thing that I tell realtors is to insist on being in correspondence, but also knowing how people correspond the best, right? So, as a buyer or even as a seller, ask your realtor, ask your attorney, how can I communicate best with you? Is it a text? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? So that because everyone has different communication styles. So, you want to know how everyone communicates and what's the best way. Having everyone on an email is the preferred way. That way, everything's in writing and everyone is getting the message in real time when it's sent. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. So you just have to really figure out what works for you and all of the players on your team so that you can really be clear about, okay, what's what am I really waiting for right now? Who has the ball right now? What's the
Yep.
next move,
Absolutely. I'm always like, okay, the ball's in my court. What do I need to do to get it out of my court so that I can keep pushing things forward? I know things like the smoke detector affidavit. Like if I have a seller, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to make sure you get that thing notarized. And recently, I think I told you, I didn't realize that maybe, I don't know, municipalities need the original. So there could be weeks and weeks that go by, right? And there's like crickets and it's like, what's going on? Oh, we didn't get the smoke. I'm like, what do you mean? Like what is that and that seems like it's a really important document.
It's starting to become really important. I feel like it only really became a thing after COVID. I don't know why. But nonetheless, the smoke detector affidavit, more popularly described as the SDA. The SDA is a form that essentially the seller has to sign and have notarized. That's the biggest key difference, to have notarized stating that they have a smoke detector in the property and that it's been replaced within the last 10 years. So what I recommend to realtors in order to be proactive is to download these forms. They are available. Most title companies have them on their website, but you can get them at mine, which is again, acleartitle.com, and download the form that's relevant to the municipality. But every municipality has their own little quirks and what they want. Some don't want them. Some want them original. Some are okay with a mailing. Some want a fee associated with it.
Right.
So you have to kind of just ask and find out what your particular town wants or village.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't become a thorn in your side weeks and weeks into the process.
It can really, really cause major delays, but there's so many opportunities to be proactive and not have to deal with that. Just when you meet with your seller and you know you're going to lock in that listing, get that SDA signed, get a mobile notary to come to you if that works, and have that document notarized in your arsenal. So when you're ready to start dishing it out to your attorneys, it's there.
Yeah, I've had a client that, was elderly and couldn't, the mobile notaries are amazing. What a brilliant idea.
If I could find out Smart Mobile Notary and Signing, she is great. Melissa is very local and will come to you and make things easy. So
I love that. That's great. In the news, you hear about like title fraud and like somebody basically stealing your house out from under you. What is that about? That scares me so much. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, it's actually a real thing because it doesn't really take rocket science to transfer a property from one person to another. The deeds that the seller signs at closing are public record. So you can easily see someone's signature if you have access or do enough research. Go to the county clerk's office, get a copy. It is a real thing, and that is really why title insurance is important. So in Orange County, you can actually sign up with the clerk and receive alerts if someone records something against your property. So that's actually an availability that's free to Orange County residents that most people here don't know. And but having your title insurance policy when you purchase will protect you from that. So if there was a situation in which the title was taken from you, you can bring up a claim. And that will protect you. But it is very important. So you can sign up for alerts. I think is the best way. You can always check in with a title company and find out like, hey, can you just verify that nothing has been recorded against my property?
Right.
And title companies can provide that for a small fee, just for them to do a quick search on the county records that there hasn't been anything recorded against your property. But it is very, and there's so many nuances because fraudsters have become more and more, advanced. So, and sometimes it's not even just of someone that you don't know. It could be, some sort of like schemish thing happening within a transaction or a property, which happens often too.
But that's a good tip. I had no idea you could sign up for alerts. So that's a really good tip. I'm going to do that. Awesome. Well, we could go on. And I'm fascinated by that whole topic. I know people are like, oh my gosh, but I'm telling you, it's such an incredible, like you do everything you can to actually get to the point where you can purchase a property. Then you want to make sure you can protect it and that everything's, free and clear. And that when you go to buy it, you're not going to have any problems afterwards. And that's why your role is so critical. And I'm excited to be able to connect you with buyers, connect you, as a resource also with sellers. So I love working with you and I thank you so much. We've had some really great recent transactions and I look forward to more people that I work with being able to set up those clarity sessions with you. But now I'm going to ask you some fun little rapid fire questions to wrap things up. And then if you at the end can let us know how everyone can find you, like what socials, your handles, all that good stuff, that would be awesome. Cool. So what is your favorite book or a book that you're reading lately, a book that, has impacted you in some way?
Well, my favorite fiction book, because he's one of my favorite writers, is Cradle and All by James Patterson. It's one of the first books that I read that was like an adult book. And I think it's such a classic because the subject of it is crazy. Like, oh my God. It's like about like immaculate conception and all this other stuff, but it's just like suspense and all this other stuff. So, but James Patterson is just a great writer in general. So
nice. It's a nice way to kind of get your mind when you're like knee deep in title stuff to like transport yourself to it.
Yeah, it's like a book that's like, right.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. What's your favorite weekend activity?
Oh, right now I like watching football on the weekends.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't know anything about football, but I know that's for all you football fans. This is a big time of year. So I'm happy that you have football.
Yes, it makes my weekend, honestly, when it's not football season, I'm like, what am I doing?
That's funny. So we're going towards November, month of gratitude, even though we're big on gratitude all year round, obviously. But who is someone that you're grateful for and why?
Well, on a personal front, I'm of course grateful for my spouse and my health and that, but I'm also very grateful for inspirational speaker that I listen to regularly. His name is Ed Milet, spelled Mylett. I listen to his podcast regularly, and his book, The Power of One, has literally changed my life and my mindset.
Wow.
Very grateful for him.
That's so awesome. I started listening to him a little while ago because he was a keynote speaker at one of the Keller Williams family reunions. Yeah. And it was really, that's awesome. I
would have had like a total like fangirl moment.
Wow. That's awesome. I definitely have to revisit. I was listening to him and I have so many podcasts that I love to listen to, but I have to revisit. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Very, very fabulous. So how can people find you? What are your socials?
So you can find me on IG and on Facebook. I believe the handle is at Absolutely Clear Title. Okay. My website is acleartitle.com. And through there, you can schedule the clarity session. You can also call me. The 845 number on the website is also textable. So if you want to send me a text and have any questions, I'm reachable that way too.
Fantastic. Well, Yaritza, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time we're recording this on a Monday. So first thing after a long weekend, I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much. I look forward to being in touch with you and working on, other projects coming up. And again, thank you for all you do in our corner of the world in real estate. And
thank you. I appreciate you.
Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Until the next time.